Empire Total War was a game that had a little too much ambition for its time. So much in the game was revolutionised from its predecessor, Medieval 2, and the map was by far the largest and most complex yet. If Empire 2 was to release today, how would the community design it? This video worked well for the Alexander 2 one, so I decided to take a look into Empire 2 and speculate on how it could look and function. One advantage we now have is that PCs have improved. Back then, they were very limited on map size. We clearly see this with the teleporter zones dotted all around. This was an issue for many players. France was just one region and could be captured in turn 1 by the British, and then the German city-states were just nowhere near enough in number, nor were they scaled in terms of settlements. Germany had around 10 settlements, whereas France had 1. However, with Warhammer 2 containing 295 settlements and 117 factions, and still able to run reasonably smoothly, makes it clear that Empire 2 will not be as limited as before. Let's take a look at these 3 issues that I mentioned earlier about the map and see if the new engine and ideas could cover it. Firstly, there would be little need for teleportation. As proven by the newer titles, they are now able to create much larger maps, and I do believe they will be capable of at least being able to make a map that covers all of Europe and stretches down through the Middle East and into India, whilst also involving Africa and the American continents. I believe Africa and the Americas could be present as full continents, however with larger wastelands in between the actual settlements, much like how they appear in EU4. For those who want more, well, it could be possible, but I just don't want to see the map get too cramped and start looking like Alexander Total War in some areas. What would you prefer? A full map that is squashed and blocky looking, or a map that actually looks good but may cut out China, Japan and Oceania? Maybe there could be some events in the game that covers them. I don't know. On to France being 1 settlement. In the original game, it was of course just 1 settlement, and that did not look or work right. How many settlements could it be divided into? Well, let's do some fun mathematics. Let's say that Europe, due to high development, contains at least 25% of the world's starting settlements. I think that is fair to suggest. France, as this is our example, controls 5% of Europe's surface area. Now, if Warhammer 2 can contain 295 settlements, I believe that PCs by now could pull off 350 settlements, and still run the way Warhammer did on launch. This would mean 87 settlements for Europe, which would translate to 4 settlements for France and 3 in the modern German border region. Okay, I know what you are thinking, and that does not sound like much, and I would agree, but you always have to consider that 1 or 2 could be taken from Eastern Europe to be added into the West to show more urbanisation. So really France and Germany could make it to 5 settlements each. But then I thought, what if they cut the settlements down like they did with Thrones of Britannia? Ooh, MELKOR said Thrones, the cursed game. Each settlement instead is broken down and is made up of a smaller collection of settlements. Some that specialise in food, others coal, others textiles, some may be ports which also could take a particular focus. Hear me out. During the time of Empire, settlements were beginning to focus more on certain products, like textile cities and port cities. In addition to this mechanic could really help to add in a load of German city-state factions. If each settlement is divided into 5 sub-settlements, each doing very little but actually powerful when combined, then you could fit many more German cities into the map. 25 states to be exact. Also, this Germany will be balanced later in the game with France and other neighbouring powers because they'll have the same amount of settlements. Here is an example I made for England, which would only have 3 main settlements. London, Norwich and York were the largest settlements at the time, so those are the 3 I have chosen. Ignore the poor quality of my drawing, but London would only be able to handle about 3 basic slots, and the other neighbouring settlements just 1 build spot max, which will be focused depending on that settlement's speciality. These settlements will be ungarrisoned for speed purposes. This, however, should be interchangeable to literally anything if they have the resources. Like, just because it's a coal mining city, you should be able to change it into a textile producing industry, as long as you've got wool coming in, for example. Resources could move around faster with access to a possible railroad, which I will discuss later, but that's some interesting mechanic that they could add in there. Some of you may hate this, but what counter do you propose? If we go for a settlement system that is similar to Empire or the old titles, then there would not enough room for all the German city-states or Italian city-states. If you were to give them more settlements and less to France, for example, then all you have done is created Empire 1, and here there is the same clear imbalance. These other methods do not work. My method fixes all of this, and allows regions to be more focused, like they were historically, especially once the Industrial Revolution hits. Many settlements, like in the Americas, would have to start uncolonised, but in predetermined locations, like in Attila, and the natives will be more accurate and act like natives, as nomads in the game. Except for, the Aztecs and an odd few that decide to adopt a more settled life if they choose to, for example. This colonisation mechanic could make a potential America's campaign very enjoyable. That's enough on the map. That was most of the video due to it being possibly the most important part. Possible mechanics I want to talk about now. A road connection system could be interesting, one that eventually evolves into railroads. This could work very well with a population mechanic. Maybe some places get depopulated and others overpopulated as a result of railroads, which did happen at the time. Maybe you got to try and transfer goods around as well. Maybe I just want to play Railroad Empire, I don't know. Just some things like that could be very good and add an extra layer to the game. Succession wars will need to be a real thing also, that are worthwhile. It does not need to be complex, with a full weird family tree. I think keeping this simple will be very important for players. But a family tree would be okay as well, as long as it is simple. Trade would need a massive rework, I believe. However, I am unsure on how such a mechanic could function. And one personal request from me, please have colour and please allow the uniforms to stand out on the battlefield. That is really important, I think. A lot of people brought up historical accuracy, and I agree that it is important to have historical backing and historical events for this game, but I also don't want it to be too heavy, like Attila. Why? Because real history is gritty, bland and painful. I would love to see accuracy on every turn, but please don't make it limited to just history. Colour is okay. If the guns need to sound louder to be more epic, go for it. If some states need to be slightly stronger or weaker for it to be playable, yet not in a ridiculous way, then I'm all in. Yeah, historical accuracy, it's nice to see here and there, but it's not everything. Factions will also have to be unique. European armies did lose a lot of their uniqueness during this period, as one strategy of line infantry began to dominate all others. It does not need to be much, but special unique units are always nice to see. Lastly, on mechanics, we need to discuss how OP the Europeans should be. Many players who colonise would love to just be able to bombard their way through those who have not yet researched the same tech levels. That should be a thing. However, it would be interesting to play on the other side and fight off the European invaders. I thought of many ways I could implement a possibility like this, one of them being for the creation of a reforms tree on top of a tech tree. This will allow native factions to choose options once the Europeans arrive to maybe adopt similar systems and settle, or continue with their past way of life. This could be interesting and could come with possible stability issues and maybe a relations penalty with those that did decide to keep to tradition. This same reforms tree could also work nicely for Europeans, experimenting with government as they would come to do later on. A native nomadic let's play could be fun, trying to survive off the land whilst Europeans and Americans sweep on through, claiming it as their own. Possible DLC could include Age of Discovery, Rise of the Ottomans, American War of Independence, American Civil War, and the Industrial Revolution, and more. I believe that a couple of large maps that cover different areas is more important than having a load of small mini campaigns. But that's just my opinion, and that I believe is everything. Now this video is not meant to cover every detail, and especially not the obvious, like a better AI for example, that will come naturally. It is meant to look at the bigger picture and share some interesting ideas, use a bit of creativity. These are on Sundays, every fortnight. We look into possible upcoming titles and try to combine my own opinions along with the community's, with some basic rules. What will we cover next episode? I have no idea, but subscribe anyway to get notified of when I upload it and how you can also provide your own input. Share this with anyone you think may be interested in this idea or Empire 2. It really helps me out. Oh yeah, and one last thing. Don't cut out naval battles this time. Not in this game.